The mist hangs thick over the river valley, like a shroud pulled tight across the dawn. You hear at first the low rumble of boots on mud, thousands strong, crushing the dew from the grass. Then the smell hits, sharp and metallic, carried on the wind from the east. Sweat-soaked leather, oiled iron, the faint rot of camp latrines trailing an army on the march. Your breath catches as shapes emerge from the fog, not men but shadows, with glinting edges, shields locked in a wall that devours the light. They come for the hill fort, your hill fort, where the thatch roofs huddle like frightened children under the ramparts. Smoke curls lazy from the hearths inside, where women stir porridge over dying fires, their voices weaving mourning songs in a tongue older than stone. But the songs falter. A horn blasts, deep and guttural, splitting the air like an axe through bone. The shadows halt, then surge. Spears rise like a forest of thorns, and in that frozen heartbeat, before the screams swallow everything, you see her, a girl on the palisade, her hair wild as the gorse below, clutching a sling in hands too small for what's coming. She doesn't run, she loads a stone, but the machine doesn't care about stones. It grinds forward, and what it takes next isn't land, it's bloodlines. Its future's unwritten. It's 20,000 daughters like her, scattered across the valleys of the Silures, whose names Rome never bothered to learn because erasure was the point. What you're about to hear involves systematic violence against women and families, the kind woven into the fabric of empire. These events draw from ancient accounts and digs that still turn up shattered bones in Welsh soil. They're documented, but raw. If this pulls too close, step away, no shame in that. We're here to trace the gears of conquest, not linger in the wreckage. For those pressing on, let's uncover how Rome didn't just conquer a tribe, it dismantled their tomorrow. Imagine a world where the sea is a hungry god, lapping at cliffs that guard secrets deeper than salt. It's the spring of the 40th year since Rome's calendar marked the birth of its founder. But out here, in the green-veined hills of what we'd call Wales, time bends to the rhythm of tides and ravens. The year we call 4-3 stirs like a storm on the horizon. Across the narrow channel, an empire sprawls Rome, a beast of marble and iron, its veins pulsing with the blood of 1,000,000 souls from Gaul to the Nile. It chews through lands like bread, spitting out roads and aqueducts in its wake. Emperors sit heavy on the throne, but power hums lower, in the dusty halls where senators plot and generals sharpen blades. Claudius rules now, a man whose limp hides a hunger for glory his body can't chase. Britain, it's the prize dangling just offshore, a fog-shrouded giant of tribes and torcs, where druids whisper to oaks and chariots carve ruts through the chalk. Rome has nibbled before Caesar's raids a century past left scars but no chains. Now, Claudius dreams bigger. Invasion. Not for gold alone, though the tin mines gleam like promises. No, it's the map. Filling the blank spaces, proving the gods favor the eagle. The machine whirs to life in the ports of Gaul. 4 legions, 20,000 legionaries, hardened by Iberian sun and German frost-board, flat-bottomed ships that bob like cork under the weight. Auxiliaries swell the ranks, slingers from the Balearics, archers from Syria, Batavian boat fighters who swim rivers like fish. They cross under a sky bruised purple, landing on the pebble beaches of Kent, where the Canti wait with spears and fury. But this is no raid, it's a flood. The tribes shatter like wave-worn rock Trinovantes, Catuvellauli falling back, their kings suing for peace or fleeing west. By summer's end, the South bows, grudgingly, Colchester rises as a colonia, veteran farmers claiming fields with plow and sword. But the West? That's where the real teeth grind. Enter Vespasian, Titus Flavius Vespasianus, a name that rolls like gravel under boot. Born to a tax collector's modest itch in the Sabine hills, he climbed not on senatorial silver, but soldier's sweat. By his 30s, he's legate of the Second Augusta, a legion forged in the fires of German mud. Vespasian isn't the marble bust you'll see in museums, clean-shaven, noble-jawed. No, he's stocky, balding early, with eyes that miss nothing and a laugh like a mule's bray. He joins the invasion at 40, under Aulus Plautius, the overall commander whose cautious plod has already secured the east. Vespasian gets the southwest flank, Dorset's chalk downs, the Isle of Wight's windy shores. His men storm hill forts like Maiden Castle, where Durotrige's warriors tattooed, Fierce hold ramparts slick with rain. The air thickens with sling stones and pila, the iron rain that pins shields to flesh. Vespasian leads from the front, his vine staff cracking orders, his sword tasting the chaos. They take 30 hillforts that year, or so the dispatches claim. Bodies pile in the ditches, ravens feasting on eyes. But victory? It's fleeting. Whispers drift east, the Silures stir. The Silures aren't one clan, but a confederation, a knot of blood, an oath spanning the Severn's mouth to the Usk's Bend, southeast Wales, where rivers carve secrets into limestone and forests cloak the hills like conspirators. Tacitus, that sharp-eyed historian writing decades later, paints them vivid. Swarthy faces, curly locks, a stubborn fire that Spain's old invaders might have kindled. They dwell in roundhouses clustered on spurs, their world a web of tracks and sacred springs. Chieftains wear torcs of twisted gold, druids read futures in entrails, warriors ride ponies, small as wolves but swift as wind, 20,000 strong, perhaps more farmers tilling barley, smiths hammering bronze, daughters learning the loom and the lament. Their name? It echoes seed, or so some say, a nod to kin unbroken, lineages deep as roots. But Rome sees threat. These aren't scattershot raiders. They're organized, allied with the Ordovices to the north, their guerrilla paths a snare for overextended lines. And their daughters? The heart of it all. In a world where blood ties bind stronger than iron, girls carry the tribe forward, marrying allies, birthing warriors, whispering songs that outlast stone. Vespasian hears the murmurs in his tent, rain drumming the canvas like impatient fingers. He's no stranger to the West's bite, his legion hacks through Devon bogs, subduing the Dumnonii with fire and fort. But the Silures pull at him, a thorn in the flank. By 47, he's shifted north, probing their borders, burning steadings that dot the hills like defiant stars. His men, veterans with scars from the Rhine, grumble at the mud, the endless green that swallows roads. Vespasian pushes them, his voice cutting fog. Build the camps, dig the ditches, watch the tree lines. He knows the machine's logic. Conquest isn't swords alone, it's roots ripped out, families scattered, futures auctioned in chains. But Vespasian doesn't forge the man he becomes in Britain's drizzle. That tempering starts earlier, in the hard scrabble of Phalacrine, where his father tallied coins and his mother spun tales of equestrian pride. Young Titus learns early. Power isn't given, it's seized. At 20, he's tribune in Thrace, chasing bandits through mountain passes, his first taste of command's bitter edge. Blood on his hands then, 2 raiders cut down, villages put to the torch when they harbor foes. No glory in the dispatches, just the quiet tally, one less threat. Then comes Africa, tax farming under a sun that blisters mercy from the soul. He squeezes provincials dry, not with glee but precision, learning how empires run on ledgers as much as legions. A drought year, he watches a village starve rather than remit late necessary, his superiors say. The screams echo in dreams, forging a shell, duty over doubt. By Claudius's court, he's praetor, navigating snakes in silk, but the wild calls louder. Britain seals it. That spring of 43, as ships grind ashore, Vespasian stands on the deck, wind whipping his cloak, and feels the pull, not of land, but legacy. His sons, Titus, 9, and the babe Domitian wait in Rome. He carves their names in conquest, or so he tells himself. But deeper, in the nights when rain drums endless, he recalls the African hut, the child's hand clutching empty air. Mercy weakens the chain, so he forges tighter. The turning comes swift, like a spear from mist. Late summer, 47. Vespasian's scouts return, bloodied, dragging a Silures warrior whose tattoos twist like serpents. The man spits defiance. Caratacus sends greetings. Caratacus, the Catuvellauli prince, defeated in the east but unbroken, now weaving alliances in the west. He's no king in rags, tall, eloquent, his torc a sun on his neck. Fled to the Silures after Astorius Scapula's hammer fell on his kin, he rallies them with fireside vows. Rome takes, but we remember. Vespasian reads the report by lamplight, wax dripping like tears. Caratacus isn't just a name, he's the spark. If the Silures hold, the West fractures, the machine stalls. Vespasian folds the scroll. Tomorrow, they march deeper. No more probes. The valley burns. Dawn breaks cold over the Usk, the river a silver snake winding through oaks bearded with moss. It's early autumn now, leaves turning gold like spilled torcs. The air tastes of damp earth and wood smoke, hearths flickering in the roundhouses that crown the hill. Lawn Melon, they call it, a fort of layered lives, where ramparts rise in terraces carved by grandfather's sweat. Below, the valley hums, sheep bleating on slopes, women at the looms weaving wool dyed woad blue, children darting like otters through the shallows. Liora moves among them, 19 summers etched in her stepdaughter of the chieftain Udaf, whose hall boasts the longest bench and the deepest mead. She's no fragile bloom. Her hands bear the callus of the sling, her eyes the green of hill pools, hair braided with feathers from the sacred eagle. By day, she tends the herbs in the grove, whispering to Andraste for strength. By night, she dreams of a husband from the Dobuni, alliances sealed in song. Her laughter rings clear, drawing smiles from the elders, envy from the maids. The tribe's bright thread, her mother calls her, for Liora weaves not just cloth but futures marriages that bind clans, children who carry the fire. The warning comes at midday. Riders from the east, cloaks torn, horses lathered. Romans, they gasp. Vespasian's eagles. The fort stirs like a hive pricked. Horns wail, men grab spears from the walls, women herd children to the inner yard. Liora pauses at her loom, shuttle in hand, the half-finished plaid a map of barley fields. Her father climbs the palisade, his voice booming calm. Hold the high ground, loose the slings at range. She joins him, heart thumping like a drum, the stone in her pouch smooth as worry. From here, the valley seems endless, a green cradle. But then the dust cloud. A mile off, rising like a storm front, the tramp grows to thunder, shields clashing in cadence, a beast with 1,000 feet. Banners snap, the wolf of the second Augusta, Vespasian's mark. They fan out, not charging blind but methodical skirmishers ahead, cohorts in blocks, engineers with fascines for the ditches, no wild assault. This is the machine. Probe, encircle, starve. Tension coils slow, a bowstring drawn taut. Hours pass, the sun arcs lazy. Roman horns blare, probes, parties, testing the flanks, arrows arcing like questions. Liora's first stone whistles true, felling a scout who tumbles silent. Cheers ripple the walls, but her father's face stays stone. Dusk falls velvet, fires dotting the Roman camp below like fallen stars. Parley, they call it a rider under truce, bearing terms. Surrender the fort, yield tribute, swear to Caesar. Udaf laughs bitter from the gate. We bend to no eagle. The rider wheels away, and night thickens with omens, owls hooting ill, the river murmuring low. Liora sleeps fitful, dreams of feathers unraveling. It breaks at false dawn, no parley honored. The machine advances, ladders biting turf, hooks snagging stakes, arrows rain back, men topple, screaming, but numbers tell. A breach yawns in the outer wall, Romans pouring like ink on parchment. The fight turns frantic, blade on spear, shield bashing face, the air a slurry of shouts in Latin and Brythonic. Liora's world narrows to the press, her sling empty. She grabs a fallen knife, slashing at a centurion's leg, hot blood slicking her grip. Her father falls yards off, transfixed by Pila, his torc gleaming dull. She fights to him, but hands seize her rough, calloused, reeking of garlic and fear. A blow stars her vision. Darkness claims her mid-scream. When light returns, it's not the fort. It's a cage of thorns and rope, the valley a haze of smoke. Bodies litter the slopes, men of the Silures, throats slit or heads bashed, their blood feeding the earth they tilled. Women wail from the tree line, rounded up like sheep, children clinging to skirts. Liora aches everywhere, wrists bound raw, her braid half loosed, knife gone. The Romans move efficient, tally the dead, strip the dead of torcs and brooches, herd the living to wagons. No sport in it, just work. A tribune barks orders strong men chained for the mines, boys for the galleys, the women sorted crueler, virgins and wives to the auction blocks, the rest broken for spirit. Liora sees it in glimpses. A girl from the next steading, dragged aside by auxiliaries, her cry cut short. Not death, but something slower, a theft that leaves marks deeper than scars. This wasn't vengeance on one fort. This was the template. Vespasian watches from horseback, his face a mask under the helmet plume, as his men fan west. 20 forts fall that season, or so the reports etch. But the daughters, the daughters. Estimates whisper 20,000 across the Silures lands. Chieftain's blood or common, rounded up in the machine's sweep. Not killed outright, that wastes value. No, parceled out. Some to Roman households as ancillae, scrubbing hearths in Londinium villas. Others to the legion's camps, warming beds through winter's bite. The proudest to the markets of Rome itself, where bidders eye teeth and hips like horse traders. The system hums. Captives branded with the legion's mark, marched in coffles that snake the roads, their songs silenced by gags of cloth. Vespasian signs the manifests, his quill steady. Duty, he thinks, the West secures. But in quiet moments, by the campfire's glow, he wonders at the eyes those green pools, now dulled, staring back from the lines. Mercy weakens, so the ledgers fill, word spreads like mist through the valleys, carried by survivors who slip the noose, women marked but unbroken, hiding in caves with babes at breast. The eagle takes our seeds, they murmur, fires low. Not just land lost, but lineage. A chieftain's daughter in chains births no warriors for the tribe. Her children, if any, bear Roman names, serve Roman gods. The machine doesn't slaughter blindly, it prunes. Men die on fields or in irons, their strength mined for empire's veins. Boys twist oars till spines snap. But the women, they carry the erasure. Forced unions in the camps, bellies swelling with half-blood heirs who'll never know the old tongue. Auctions in Caerwent's shadow, where Frontinus's forts rise like teeth. Buyers haggling over Silures stock, feisty, but tamed. One escapes, perhaps Liora, fever-dreaming of the Usk, slipping bonds in a storm, vanishing into gorse, but thousands don't. Their absence echoes, clans fracture, alliances fray, resistance gutters like a snuffed candle. Historians later tally it cool, the Silures unbroken till the 70s, when Vespasian emperor, now, crowned in the civil war's ash, sends Frontinus to finish. But that first sweep? Vespasian's hand. And the parallel? Look to any border today, where drones map bloodlines and camps sort the uprooted. Not madness, machines, but that wasn't the worst part. Far from it. Shift now to the victor's tent, canvas walls flickering with oil lamps, the air heavy with the scent of ink and unwashed ambition. It's months later, winter gnawing the hills, Vespasian hunched over maps in a fortified camp near the Severn. Snow dusts the eaves, muffling the coughs of sentries outside. He isn't emperor yet, that chaos brews in Rome's fevered streets, but here, he's God. Reports stack like cordwood. Forts held, tribute flowing in grain and cattle, the Silures guerrilla fires stamped low. Yet, sleep evades him, chased by dispatches from the flanks. Astorius, his successor, presses west, but the tribes twist like smoke. Caratacus haunts the dispatches, that damned prince rallying holdouts, his name a curse on every patrol. Vespasian rubs his temples, the lines there deeper than last year. His aide, a wiry Thracian with a scar like a question mark, enters, bearing wine in a sealed tube. From the Usk Valley, legatus, the harvest. The word sours on his tongue. He breaks the wax, unrolls the scroll. Tribune's hand, precise. 300 captives processed. Men to the quarries, the rest auctioned south. But the addendum chills. Resistance flares in the villages spared the sword. Women slipping away, taking oaths with them. Recommend dispersal, the tribune writes. To break the weave. Vespasian nods slow, the machine's logic clicking home. Dispersal. Not death that invites martyrs. No, scatter the threads. Send the daughters east, to the Colonia farms where veterans wait with empty beds. North to the wall builders, their nights long under starless skies. Some to Rome, paraded in triumphs that taste of salt and cheers. Incentives hum beneath, a legionary's bonus for loyal service, a centurion's nod toward promotion. The prefects report up the chain tribune to legate to governor, each stamp sealing the flow. Gold trickles back. Slaves fetch 2 denarii a head, more for the unmarked. The empire fattens. From this height, it's clean. Numbers on vellum, routes inked red, But the Thracian sees farther, slipping out to the pickets where auxiliaries huddle over dice. He's one of them, once captured young, traded like a mule. He hears the tales unvarnished. Villages emptied at dawn, doors splintered, screams chasing the mist. Not the killing, a Batavian mutters, firelight carving hollows in his face. That's quick. It's the sorting. Mothers clutching girls, pleading in that hill tongue. We pry 'em loose, chain the strong ones for the march. The little ones, left for the crows, or taken for camp followers. The Thracian nods, remembering his sister's eyes, wide as the Danube, before the auction block. Ironic that Rome preaches family, pietas carved in every forum arch, yet here's the truth. Conquest as commerce. A quiet detail pierces. One soldier, homesick for Gaul, slips a girl a crust before the wagons roll. She takes it, whispers thanks in broken Latin. He wonders later if she survived the fever on the road. The spread isn't linear, no tidy front advancing. It's veins, creeping through passes and fords. By spring, reports multiply. 500 from the Y, 1,000 near the Towie. Whole steadings ghosted, hearths cold. The machinery incentivizes. Bonuses for volume, lashes for mercy. Frontinus, that engineer's soul, maps it later in his memoirs, forts as anchors, roads as arteries, captives as currency. But from the witness line, it's messier. A merchant from Glevum, passing the camps, sees the coffles first. Women in ragged wool, ankles raw from iron, eyes down but fists clenched. He trades wine for news, hears of the weeding, how chieftains' kin fetch premium, destined for senators' couches, their spirits ground finer than grain. Numbers blur human. Not 1,200 souls, but enough to fill 3 galleys. A breather, then the merchant pauses at a spring, watching swallows dart, their freedom a knife twist. Beauty amid the grind, the river still runs clear, fish leaping silver, oblivious. One moment lingers, sharp as flint. Near the Black Mountains, a patrol corners a holdout band, not warriors, but families fled to the crags. A different sort, elders, herders, a handful of girls with slings like Liora's. The decurion hesitates, orders say take alive, but the auxiliary beside him, fresh from Syria's sands, draws first. Blades flash quick, the old fall silent, the herders scatter like leaves. The girls fight fierce, stones cracking helms, but numbers overwhelm. Not death for them, no, a slower cut. Bound and marched, one spits in the decurion's face, our seed outlives your stone. He laughs, uneasy, but the words stick. That night, by the fire, he wonders if the machine ever rusts. He made one crucial mistake, though, Vespasian. In scattering the daughters, he sowed rebellion's embers. Time slows here, the world narrowing to a single valley under a sky boiled lead gray. It's the cusp of summer, 3 years into the grind, the Usk swollen from rains that turn paths to mire. Vespasian's gone east now, called to higher commands, but his shadow lingers. The second Augusta's standards still bear his bore sigil, orders echoing his crisp prose. The machine hums louder, forts sprouting like warts along the river, Caerleon rising, its walls a dare to the hills. Frontinus commands now, that methodical mind plotting grids over chaos. But the Silures don't yield. Caratacus rallies from hidden halls, his voice aflame in the dark. They take our bodies, but not our blood. Alliances not tighter to boony gold. Ordevices spears a web that snares Roman columns. Ambushes bleed the legions. A cohort vanish near the Y, heads staked on the trail like warnings. The peak cracks open at dawn, in a defile called the broken oak trees split by old lightning, ground churned to slurry. Frontinus's vanguard pushes, 500 strong, shields overlapped, hoping to flush a warband. But it's no warband. It's the heart. A chieftain's kin group, 200 souls, fled from the autumn sweeps, hunkered in caves with provisions thin as hope. Among them, echoes of Liora, girls like her, daughters of the fallen, slings loaded, eyes fierce. The Romans crest the rise, horns muffled in fog. Orders ripple, encircle, no quarter for resistors. Tension stretches eternal, the crunch of hobnails on scree, a child's whimper swallowed quick, the river's distant roar mocking the quiet. Then the snap, a slingstone cracks a helmet, Pila answer in an iron storm. The cave mouth erupts, figures spill, blades glinting, screams weaving, Latin curses with Brythonic cries. Time fractures, a girl lunges, knife glancing off greave. A legionary clubs her down, not killing but claiming, his grip bruising as he hauls her back. The act unfolds in shards, not floods. No gore-spattered epic. The machine prefers precision. Men fall pierced, their torcs claimed as spoils. Elders perish silent, clubs efficient. The daughters, 20, perhaps 30 here. The last unbroken threads fight to the bind. One, hair-matted blood, bites a captor's wrist deep. He strikes her still, drags her limp. Implication hangs heavy. What follows the fall? Wagons wait below, irons heating in braziers. Not blades, but chains. The sorting, virgins marked for the markets, others for the camp's endless nights. Scale swells it horrific across a dozen such defiles that season. Thousands funneled east, their lineages auctioned in lots of 50. Frontinus tallies at victory, but the crack shows. Survivors whisper of the river daughters, girls who drown themselves in the Usk rather than yield, bodies washing up like accusations. Caratacus hears, rallies fiercer. The machine strains a gear, slips when one chieftain's kin slips free, carrying tales to the Ordovices, igniting the north. Vespasian, reading reports in Rome's warmth, frowns at the ink. Overreach. The daughters weren't just spoils. They were the fracture. What happened next would alarm an entire empire. Vespasian claims the purple in 69, the year of 4 emperors' bloodbath, leaving him atop the heap. No grand funeral for the old guard. He steps over corpses to the throne, his laugh echoing the halls. The Silures? A footnote by then, subdued under his nod, Frontinus's roads paving the submission, forts like Caerleon swallowing the valleys. He lives to 70, dying in 79 of what? The sources hedge, fever or shame at a jest gone sour. His sons inherit Titus, the fair-haired heir, then Domitian, the shadowed one. The empire bloomed, Colosseum rising, frontiers hardening, but the west stayed prickly, garrisons thick as thorns. Survivors scattered, some ancillae and villas, birthing mixed bloodlines that blurred the old tongues. Others lost to the mines, names eroded like chalk. Caratacus, paraded in Rome's triumph, then pardoned, exiled to Naples, scribbling memoirs no one reads. The Silures fade into Roman Britain, their hillforts quarried for lime, daughters' songs silenced in the wind. Power shifted east, always, but the irony bites. Vespasian's tax farmers' blood built an age of gold, yet his machine's harvest, those 20,000 shadows fed no one. The ledger's balanced, but the earth remembers, bones whispering in the sod. She had 3 days left. Liora didn't know it yet. Dig now to the present, where rain still slicks the Welsh hills, and trowels scrape secrets from the clay. It's 1,980. A dig at Biglis, near Caerwent Roman roads unearthed, but beneath, the ghosts. Miranda Green, archaeologist with eyes for the Celtic weave, sifts the soil, not grand halls, but middens, shattered pots, iron bits, and bones. Women's bones, mostly pelvises wide from birth, femurs scarred from march, skulls cracked not in battle but binding. Isotope tests later confirm. Locals, then shipped east, their teeth telling tales of rye fields turned to Tiber mud. No mass grave screaming massacre, but the scatter hundreds of fragments, mingled with shackle rust, paints the picture. Green publishes in 1995 her book, The Sun Gods of Ancient Europe, threading the violence, not random but ritual and erasure, daughters as the offering to empire's maw. Digs multiply. Usk's Roman fort yields collars etched fugitiva, escapees branded. Caerleon's amphitheater, built on Silures soil, turns up femurs with whip marks, young and strong. Tangible now, the weight of a bronze anklet, twisted in flight, a loom weight dropped mid-weave. Green's hands tremble, unearthing a bead necklace, woad blue thread frayed but whole. A daughter's, perhaps, human again. Why does it echo? Not the gore, but the blueprint. Empires still sort the uprooted. Camps on borders, auctions in shadows, bloodlines commodified for stability. Vespasian's machine wasn't unique, it was efficient. Teaches this. Power fears the seed, most the unwritten future. The girl with the sling. Resistance, it roots in memory, not muscle. Human nature bends to chains, but snaps back in stories. Universal, erase a daughter, and the tribe ghosts. But let her name linger, and the hill fort rises anew. Return to that river valley, the mist burning gold now. Years later, the hill fort's ramparts grassed over, wildflowers nodding where screams once rose. No eagles circle, just ravens croaking old jokes. The machine rusted long ago, its gears ground to dust in the Severn's silt. But Liora's shadow walks the paths in the songs of the bards, the digs of the curious, the quiet fury of those who remember. They were meant to vanish, those 20,000, swallowed by roads and registers, their threads unraveled for Rome's loom. But they didn't. Not fully. Fragments wash up still, a bone in the clay, a bead in the barrow, a story stubborn as stone. And now they're here, with you, because you chose the mist, the march, the memory. Their fire warms this telling. If this stirred something the system's shadow or the daughter's defiance, drop a comment below. What's one erasure history tried on you? Subscribe for more threads pulled from the dark. We finish not with silence, but with seeds.